screen. All right, so for this test, we have talked about graphing quadratic functions. Quadratic functions, of course, by that we mean x squared equations, and we talked about two types, and one of the types is number one here on this little review handout. And yeah, we've got an x squared graph, and I like to call this form vertex form, because can't we, off of this form in number one, read, well, first of all, we can read whether it opens up or down very easily. Which way does this one open? It is going to open upward because of this number right here, right? The 2 being a positive number in front of the parentheses there, that's going to mean it's going to be opening up. If it was negative, it would open down. But like I was saying though just a second ago, we can read off of this form, call it vertex form. It's in this shape right here of equation. Call that vertex form because we can read the vertex, the h comma the k, right off of that. And we can do that, which numbers are h and which are k. The h is right here, right? This is the h, this is the k. Now on the h, the only thing you got to remember is, what do we got to do there? Reverse the sign. Yeah, if it's a positive here in the parentheses, we change it to a negative 4.2. And then the k is, well, just as is there. So h, k, negative 4.2, negative 5.6, that's going to be the vertex, that turning point on this graph. And so if I come over here to negative 4.2 and negative 5.6, right about in there, huh? That is my vertex. Okay, then the other point that we got to help us out here on graphing was the y-intercept. Set x to be 0, and we get y equals 2 times 0 plus 4.2 squared minus 5.6. So that's going to give us 0 equals 2 times 4.2 squared minus 5.6. And so if we multiply all that out, do the of course do the squaring first. 4.2 squared gives me a 17.64. And then multiply by 2 and subtract 5.6. Here's what I get. 29.68. Yep, okay. So the y-intercept is way up there. Okay. All right, so it's not obviously far enough, but let's just round it off there. So it's going to cross there, say that's 30 right there. It's not quite 30, but it's more like 20, but we'll call it good there. All right, and so that's our y-intercept, where it crosses the y-axis. All right, and then by symmetry, if you draw, we know there's a line of symmetry here right down the middle, down the vertex. If you draw that symmetry line there, then there's another point, same distance across from that y-intercept, right about there, we'd say. And so if we do that, the vertex and the y-intercept, yeah, you're going to get something vaguely similar to this. Okay? All right, so in that form, that's how we go about graphing that. What about a quadratic, as in number 2 there? Well, we can tell a few things about that, can't we? Which way does this one open? This one's going to open down because of the negative 2 in front here. We can tell real quick there about that one is it's going to open down. Now what about the vertex on this one? Again, we're calling the vertex h comma k. Can't read it directly off of this one, but what I can do is use a little formula there. The h is going to equal negative b over 2a. Turns out in this form, if it's in this form, quadratic, you can get the h by doing negative b over 2a, where a, of course, is the negative 2. And then the b, well, the b is this number in front of the x, which is 1 in this case. So the a is negative 2, the b is 1. So I get a negative 1 over 2 times negative 2 for my negative b over 2a. So that's going to be a negative 1 divided by negative 4, which is a positive. And let's go ahead and round that to a decimal, or change it to decimal, 0.25. That's going to be the h. What about the k? How do we get the k? Okay, then you just substitute the h in for x, right? And that'll give us our k. So it'll be negative 2 times 0.25 squared plus 0.25 plus 10. And if we can multiply and add all that out, we should get it. And again, remember, square first. Squaring comes before all those others. So it'll be negative 2 or 0.25 squared. So it'll be negative 2 times 0.0625 plus 0.25 plus 10. Here's what I get. I get 10.375. Anybody else get that? Does that sound okay for K? All right. Okay, so that's our vertex. Our vertex is 0.25, comma, 10.375. All right. Let's talk about the intercepts. Let me move over just a little bit. All right, so the y-intercept, easy one of the bunch here, because to find the y-intercept, what do? Set x to be 0. So we get y equals negative 2 times 0 squared plus 0 plus 10. All right? Well, that's easy because this is 0 and this is 0, so that's y equals 10. So I have a y-intercept of 10. What about the x-intercept? We find these intercepts always the same way, don't we? For the x-intercept, what do? We set y to be 0, which in this case is f of x, to 0. Okay, now when I've got the leading term there negative, I usually like to move the terms over, move these terms over to the left side there. So I add 2x squared, subtract x, and subtract 10, and I get this equation. It's a little easier to factor, I think. It does factor. 2x and x. Let's move it over here. All right, so it'll be 2x and x. And minus 10, I think it's 5 and 2. I need a minus x, so that'll be a minus and a plus. That gives me the right thing, doesn't it? Because that's 4x, and that's a minus 5x. So, gives me minus x, which is what I had there. So set each factor to 0. And we got it. Add 5 and divide by 2. 5 halves and subtract 2, negative 2. Okay? So there you go. This should be enough information here to graph it. We know it opens downward. The vertex is 0.5, 10.375. 0.25, 10.375. So there's your vertex up here. The y-intercept is 10, so it's right there beside it. And the x-intercepts, well, you got 5 halves, you got negative 2. So 2.5. So negative 2 and then 2.5. There you go. your little graph. Is that okay? Question or concern? All right, number 3. Kind of cluttered up here. All right, so number 3, graph f of x equals minus x cubed plus x squared plus 12x. Okay, well, these, when you get third degree or higher, they typically have some different shapes you can have, but what we do know, one thing we did talk about on third degree or higher was the end behavior. What end behavior do we have on a third degree? One of them's up, one of them's down, right? They alternate. One end's up, one end's down. Now, if it's a negative x cubed, which ends up, which ends down? Left's up, left end up, right end down. Okay? All right, so over here on the graph, we will have the left end up and the right end will go down. We can kind of mark that preliminarily anyway, like that. Okay? With me so far? Okay, well, what else did we do? Well, we did do the intercepts. And in this case, I'm going to have a y-intercept when x is 0 of, set x to be 0. Everything's 0, isn't it? 0, 0, 0, so the y-intercept is 0. The x-intercepts, well, those are helpful here. The x-intercepts, we said f of x to be 0. And again, with that negative being the first term, I would move all these terms over. So let's add the x cubed, subtract the x squared, and subtract 12x. And then factor, which we've got a common factor of x in there, so let's factor it out. So we x squared minus x minus 12 in parentheses there. And then the x squared minus x minus 12 factors nicely as x minus 4, x plus 3, doesn't it? That would give us the middle term of a minus 1. So there you go. There's x is 0. Set that to 0 and then add 4. You got x is 4. Set that to 0 and subtract 3. We've got negative 3. So those are my intercepts. We got y-intercept of 0, x-intercept of 0, same point, x-intercept 4, x-intercept negative 3. All right. Now, what else did I want, remember, on this? This little table. X and y values. And what did I want to do? X values between the x-intercepts. So, since I have an x-intercept of negative 3 and 0 and positive 4, how about we do x is negative 2? That would be between the 0 and negative 3. And how about a positive 2? Because that would be between 0 and positive 4. So if x is negative 2, we get the y is, well, we have negative of negative 2 cubed plus negative 2 squared plus 12 times negative 2. What is that going to give me? Negative 8. So it'll be positive 8 here. Negative 2 squared would be positive 4. And then 12 times negative 2 is negative 24. So that's going to be 12. That's going to be negative 12, isn't it? For negative 2. And then when x is positive 2, we have negative 2 cubed plus 2 squared plus 12 times 2. That's going to be negative 8 plus 4 plus 24. I believe that's going to be 20. Sound right? Negative 2, negative 12, positive 2, positive 20. Anybody else believe that? Is that okay? All right. Okay, so negative 2, negative 12. That's going to be right about here. And then positive 2, positive 20. And that's right there. All right, and so with the ends and those points, I think we got it, don't we? So it comes in, the left end is up, so this comes here, and then we're coming down through that, up through that, hit that point, and then down. How's that? Look okay?